we have already talked for at least 20 hours on the methods of meditation. And just to do a brief review of what we have been talking about meditation, there are so many methods in meditation. We are using the methods as introduced by the Buddha Sakyamuni in his sutras, Mahasatipatthana and Anapanasati. So we have been using the in and out breath meditation. That's a very safe meditation. Meditation could be risky, you know. We'll get into that issue later. People usually look at the bright side of meditation. There could be a dark side if you don't know how to do it, if you misused it, if you didn't do it right. It could be a dark side. And most information only illuminate on the beneficial parts of it. But if you don't know how to do it, there could be problems that you should know. Okay, but let's continue with the in and out breath. Now, we say meditation is in two parts, basically. The concentration part, the Sanskrit called samatha, and the contemplation part, the Sanskrit called vipassana. And in the concentration part, we have counting, following, and stabilization. So on the contemplation part, we have introspection, returning, and purification. We've been talking on counting. On the first one, on the counting, the object of concentration is counting. And let's do a fast review. Counting, the way we discussed it, we discussed how to cultivate counting, the counting method, and how to, we'll talk about the realization part of the counting. In counting, the practitioner regulates and harmonizes the breath so that it is neither too rough nor too subtle, counting unhurriedly and slowly from 1 to 10. One focuses the mind on the counting and does not allow your mind to wander off, you know, or become scattered. Now, if you do your counting properly, people say, "Where do I go from here? I'm counting." You know, the counting method, as introduced by the Buddha. So, where do I go after counting? You know where to go. You know your counting is well done when you have the following. We call it subtle breathing. So in meditation, you really need training. It's not just you come once in a while, you do half an hour one day and you don't do it, and you do another half hour 3 days, 4 days later. That's not meditation. That's you just relaxing. Meditation needs training your own mind all the time, faithfully. So you know that your counting is well done when you have subtle breathing. How do you know that you have subtle breathing? Number one, when your breathing makes no sound. When you cannot hear your breathing. Usually you can hear your breathing. You can actually hear your breathing internally, but when your breathing makes no sound, when the breathing is smooth and your breathing is long and deep with no obstruction, you know that you have subtle breathing. Number two, the exhalation and the inhalation are of extended duration such that they are as if still there and yet not there. It's your breath develops from being subtle to fine. It almost like it disappears. You can't feel your breath anymore. Usually everybody feels his own breath. When your breath is subtle, you cannot feel it. That's the time when you know that You graduate from the school of counting. Let's say there are 6 schools in and out breath. Counting, following, stabilization, introspection, returning, and purification. So every one of these, if we used the analogy of a school, the school of counting, when would you graduate from the school of counting? Not accounting, counting. Okay, that is when your breath is subtle. When your breathing is subtle, then the mind has less and less scattering thoughts. You're feeling content and peaceful. So in other words, when your monkeying mind is not hopping from one branch to another. Right now you may not realize it, you may not notice it. Our mind is all over the place, every second, like a monkey going in all different directions, even when you're meditating. When you're meditating, when you're sleeping, even in your dream, the monkey mind is hopping from one branch to another. A branch of greediness, hopping to another branch of jealousy, a branch of hatred, a branch of anxiety, a branch of depression, a branch of fear, a branch of egoistic behavior, a branch of, you name them, arrogance. We're hopping from one branch to another. But now, your breath is so subtle that the mind has less and less wandering and scattering thoughts. You're feeling content and peaceful. Then you know that you have already graduated from the school of counting. So you don't have to ask your teacher, because your teacher don't know how subtle your breathing is. If you know that your breathing is subtle, that means you graduated. Don't go on to the next school if you haven't graduated from the school of counting. If you haven't graduated from grade 1, going to grade 2, you're not qualified for grade 2 yet. After you graduated from the school of counting, you go to the school of following. Now, what is this school all about? When counting is well done, the mind is content with peacefulness. The practitioner feels that counting is not fine enough. Counting is too coarse. He does not want to bother counting. As the breath disappears, the breath is disappearing. What are you counting? Counting what? You only count when you have a breath, right? When your breath disappears, what do you count? To him, counting is an attachment. He is now going on to a higher level of in and out breath meditation. He just wants to follow the breath. The breath is so subtle that even counting itself is not fine enough. You want to use the method of following. Now let's get into following now, the second level. So don't ask, where am I go from here? Have you finished your counting? Have you faithfully followed counting? Some people are in counting for 50 years because they just desultorily practice meditation, maybe 1 hour per day, 50 minutes per day, and then they wander off in different directions, they learn different methods, and then they read some books, see some videos, and then after 1 or 2 years go back to meditation again, or they don't take it seriously. They're not in that school. You're not a serious student of counting. That's why you're getting nowhere. That's why your mind is not peaceful. Your mind is not content. That's why your mind is always wandering off in all different directions of the temporal world, which concentrates at materialism, fame, reputation, greediness, all kinds of desires, because you haven't graduated from the school of counting. Now, we go into following now. And how do we analyze following? First of all, we look at how do we cultivate, how do we develop following. And then we examine, what do we get from it? People like to say, what do I get from following? You know what you got from counting now, have you? What do you get from counting? subtle breathing, peacefulness of mind, content. Your breath disappears, no sound, long, deep, smooth. Now, let's talk about following. The cultivation of following. The practitioner relinquishes counting, because counting is not fine enough for him, and relies single-mindedly on following the coming in and going out of the breath, remaining free of any distraction and scattering of his focus. He just follows the breath. Oh, the breath comes in. It goes into my body. It permeates into my organs. It goes into every part of my body. So you follow the track of the breath. You follow it. It's not easy. You follow it from 1 second, the next second you're thinking of, where do I go? Do I go to White Spot for lunch? Or McDonald's? Or do I try a different burger? You know, you think of many, many things. What happened yesterday? What did my wife say? My wife said something I don't like. Or my boss said something I don't like. I have a fear about my own job. When I get laid off, if I got laid off, how do I get UI? You know, how do I get this report? How did they report me? Oh, my business is going down the drain. What would I do? Should I get a job? My marriage is hitting against a rock. It's going to be broken. All kinds of thinking. Now, okay, you cultivate, you follow. How exactly do you follow your breath? Just talking about following isn't enough. How do you follow? Do you know where your breath is? Here, right? What's the easiest object that you can follow? Not anything else externally. What do you follow? You follow a car? You follow a bird? It's so external that it disappears from your sight immediately. What do you follow? The best, the most akin to you is your breath. Don't tell me that you cannot even follow your own breath. What is life? Life is a breath. Some people say life is within a few hours, within 1 hour, within 5 minutes, within 6 minutes. But even the Buddha said, life is in between breath. If you snip your nose and closed it, the last breath is already gone. And if you don't follow it by the next one, you're dead after a while. No oxygen goes into the brain anymore. So life is so short. People say life is short, it's just about 100 years. No, life is not about 100 years. It's about in between one breath. If the previous breath is not followed by the next breath, you're out. So actually life is an illusion. Life is so short that it's an illusion. And when we talk about time dimensions, when the Buddha talked about time dimensions, we have the past, we have the present, we have the future, right? 3 dimensions of time. Our body occupies space. And what is time? What exactly in our body that clearly shows us the passage of time? Your breath, right? One breath after another, the timing is short, the passage of time. When we talk about our past, usually a modern guy would say, yesterday, my past is yesterday, my past is last year, my past is 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But the Buddha said, your most recent past is when you were given birth, the most recent. Your remote past is your previous lives, which is immeasurable, so many lives. But your most recent, the past that you can keep track of, is when you are birth, when you're at birth. When you're born into this world, that's how long ago? At birth. And then that's your past, but how about the future? What will the future be? What is waiting for you? Your future. That's for sure. Death. You know, death. What is waiting for us? Tomorrow? No. Death, for sure. If you don't have to die, raise your hands. Anyone who doesn't have to die, raise your hands. So we said our past is at birth, our future is death. What is in between? What is in between? Which signifies, delineates, and clearly tells us the passage of time. What's in between? You don't even know about it? Oh, I know about it now. Aging. You're aging all the time. There are some meditators there I saw about a few years ago, and suddenly when I saw him or him again, it's not the same, exactly the same person. A little bit of wrinkles here and there, including myself. Aging is in between. Is in between. But then birth, aging, and death. We know this is the passage of time. During this time, what do we do? What do we do during this time that we know we are given birth, we're aging, and we die? What do we do? Every day, what do we do? We're struggling for what? Wealth, reputation, fame, relationships. What do? We are doing something that is absolutely not important to our enlightenment, to our spiritual transformation, to saving ourselves. The Buddha said we're not saving ourselves in the modern world. What we're looking for is just materials. A big house, good car, you know, rich, billionaires. Can money help you to be away from death? To be away from aging? To be away from birth? Do you have a choice when you're being born into this world? Do you have a choice? You don't have. What determines where you go? What you have done, your karma. You have exactly contributed to what you will be in the future. What you are suffering now is what you have done in the past. Cause and effect. So the Buddha said, this world is a world of suffering because what we're experiencing is actually birth, aging, and death. But then what do? We're always building up bad karma. We're building up bad karma to justify the next reincarnation into another body. The Buddha said, don't reincarnate anymore. Don't get in the world of suffering. Elevate yourself from samsara. Transform yourself spiritually, not materially, not physically, not emotionally, but going through that transformation where you can be out from samsara. And the Buddha introduces methods to tell us to get out from samsara. There's so many methods in the Buddhist teaching, but who would care to spend time in studying and training himself to be liberated from samsara? Not many. People are just struggling for fame, reputation, and food, and relationships, this kind of thing. And then they died again, going to the next round of reincarnation. Cause and effect, causality. So we know that when we practice following, the method of following, then we will have realization. But first of all, how do we practice following? Let's get into the 16 superior phenomena. Because of following the breath, the practitioner becomes able to develop 16 superior phenomena during the cultivation. In other words, you will experience this. That's actually what you are developing. What's this? First one, awareness that the breath is coming in. So when you're following the breath, then you say to yourself, now the breath is coming in. You follow it, right? When you're following it, you have to know when it comes in, when it leaves, right? You're following it, right? If you're a detective, you're following someone, you can't leave him out of sight. You got to see him. You got to make sure that, okay, he's coming. Now I'm sitting in here waiting for him. He's out there. He's coming into a restaurant. I know that he's coming in, right? So awareness that the breath is coming in. Awareness that the breath is going out. Can you be aware of that? When you follow something, you follow is in and out. Can you not follow is in and out? Don't tell me that I can't do following. It's your own breath. So, be aware of the breath coming in. When the breath comes in, you know that now the breath is coming in. When the breath goes out, of course, you're going to follow it all the way through. When it goes out, now it's going out, right? Right? And then awareness that the breath is long or short. Sometimes when you're not healthy, when you have a flu, a cold, then your nose is congested, you have nasal congestion, then your breath is short, then, oh, my breath is short. And sometimes my breath is long, very long, my breath is short. You can realize the length of your breath, the duration of your breath, right? You also follow its duration. When you're following a guide, don't let him out of sight. During the process that is walking, you also follow that guy, right? Fourth, awareness that the breath permeates the body. Oh, it comes in now. And now I realize that it gets into my esophagus. It gets into my lung. My lungs feel cool. And no, my lungs doesn't feel cool because the air is not fresh here. It's smoky. So I can feel it, permeates my body, but the smokiness is also being felt by me. So you are aware that the breath permeates the body. And sometimes you have to visualize it. Because when it gets into your organ, if you're not subtle enough, you don't know where the breath is. But you really have to visualize it. So it's very good that you have some knowledge of biology, where your lung is, your intestines, your organs and everything. So that's the reason why monks, when we are practicing impurity contemplation, we put a skeleton by the side. And we always know that it's very expensive, the skeleton. It would be inexpensive at a certain time of the year. You know what time of that year? Huh? Halloween. You know Halloween? Halloween day, you can get that. We usually go out to buy, not clothes, not shoes. People say, what are you going out to buy on Halloween day? Skeleton. Scare them. Skeleton. Because that's how we contemplate. Skeleton. So, awareness, the breath permeates the body. Relinquishing all physical actions. What does that mean? Calming the breath to release bodily fabrications. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you are meditating, and because of qi imbalances, sometimes your hands move. And sometimes you'll be shaking like that. The body fabrications. You are aware of that too, because when you're following the breath induces the qi imbalances. Sometimes you move. And sometimes the qi would move you to a position that is not right. I have seen people like that in here. They're sitting like this. Have you seen people sitting like this? They're not straight, they're always like this. Do you have a question? No? I thought you have a question.
Is it involuntary?
What?
Is it involuntary?
It's involuntary, yes. But you have to be what? aware of it. It's involuntary, but you can stop it actually, right? Yeah. If it is not involuntary, you can't stop it. So you can stop it any time, but it just comes out naturally. But if you're really in tranquility, there shouldn't be any body fabrications. You must be aware of the body fabrications. Some people say, okay, I have body fabrications, I move, and I feel good, so I want to move every time. When I move, I want to make sure that it moves. No. So when the physical actions come, you let it go, but you allow the momentum to carry on, and then it will go. You won't say, I like the shaking, because it helps me to exercise. Then you're in trouble, because you're attached to it. Okay? And 6, the mental experience of joy. I mean, you feel joyful. You are aware of the joyfulness. The mental experiences of bliss, which is a higher level of joy. The experiencing of all mental actions, being aware of all mental fabrications. Now, previously you have bodily fabrications. Now you have mental fabrications. What is this mental fabrications? And you're sitting in there, and sometimes you feel, I have anger in me. Because my abusive childhood brought back memories that I dislike. I hated my alcoholic dad. He beat me up. So you brought back this mental fabrications, and you dwell in it. You feel unhappy. You feel angry. Try to let that go. Don't let your past anger linger on. Yesterday I was talking to a fellow, and he said he felt, every now and then he had a depression. And then after we talk about it, and how does it start? Where did it come from? Is that I hate my dad. My dad was a wino, drinking all the time and beat me up, and I didn't like my childhood. And I can't forgive him. So I talked to him. I said, forgiveness is, anyone who can forgive is not a coward. Only heroes forgive. Only cowards attach to hatred. Because they are not strong enough to let the hatred go. So the higher your forgiveness, the more heroic your feeling is. It's always good to forgive than to anchor your hatred in you, which makes you depressed. So always forgive. Forgiveness is like when you look at the sky. And if always anchoring your hatred, it's just like you're sitting in a closed room where you're surrounded by nothing but hatred. So always open up your mind, whatever bygone which induce you hatred because of certain action that have been performed on you. Forgive that, because you will not allow it to happen again. And that agony, don't bring that agony onto the present table and thought about it and ponder on it. It's unfair to you, because whatever past is past. How come you brought bad experiences onto the present table and attached to it? It would be foolish to do that, because first of all, it won't happen again. Second of all, you don't allow it to happen. So why do you let it to haunt you? Get that off.